Today we are going to make this using geometry node, and also we are going to make this 3D model from scratch. And if you're someone who is just getting started with Blender, this is going to be a useful resource for you, because this is not just going to be a regular follow-along tutorial where it only shows the how. Instead, I'll break down each step and explain the why behind it, so that you can actually understand the process and apply it to your own projects in the future. That being said, there will be time codes throughout this video so that you can skip and watch the part that might help you the most. So yes, let's get started. Let's open Blender and let's go to the front view and let's import our image as reference. Now let's just simply select it, and you can find this image in the description. Let's enable opacity. Let's bring it down a little bit. Let's align this to the ground and let's bring it to the middle. So as you can already see that it's a cylindrical shape object. So in terms of modeling cylindrical shape objects, there are a few approaches that we can go for. In one of my previous video, I have already showed you how you can make any cylindrical object using only a single vertex. But in this case, I'm going to take a cylinder. Let's take a cylinder. Let's scale it down. Let's align this. Let's bring it up. Let's go to the edit mode and let me enable the screencast keys so that you can see my keystrokes. So press tab to go to edit mode and Alt Z to go to the X-ray mode, and let's bring it up here. Okay, so the model is pretty much simple. One of the thing that you need to remember that in this portion we have an indented part. So for that, what we need to do is let's go to the face selection mode and just insert it a little bit. Let's delete the faces and select this. Let's do extrude inward, E and S, and let's do a grid fill. One of the things we can do is let's disable it from the perspective view. That's where the reference image will only be visible from the orthographic view, and as we don't need it in the perspective view. So yes, now what we need to do is let's add a subdivision surface, and here you can see that this portion is acting pretty much normal, but this portion is totally messed up. And as I have already said you that I will be explaining the whys. So why it's happening is because here you can see that all the polygons are quads. That means you can see that every polygon has exact 4 vertices that makes a quad. That's why it's acting normal. But on the upper portion, if we disable it from the viewport, here you can see that we got an n-gon. Like there are a lot of vertices. If we select them, here you can see that there are 32 vertices with only one face. So to solve it, let's insert it a bit like as we did here. So if we enable the viewport from here, here you can see that it's getting pretty much normal, but it's not there yet because we have an n-gon. Let's just delete this face. And here you can see that it's acting normal. So in terms of subdivisional modeling, what happened is it calculates the distance from this edge to this edge. Like it's basically calculating the distances from each edge to another. That's why it's curving it down throughout the edges. If I show you a simple example, like let's take a plane and let's merge them at center. Let's go to front view. Let's extrude it, and let's extrude it along the x-axis also. So here you can see that it's a normal line consisting 3 vertices. And here if we add the subdivision surface, what it happens is subdivisional modifier basically calculates distance of this vertex, and this vertex, and then smooths out the whole thing like this curve. If we want to make edge sharper, what we need to do is we need to add supporting vertex. So press Ctrl R, and here you can see that if we add a vertex here and if we add a vertex here, now you can see that it's basically calculating distance of this vertex and this vertex. And as there is no curvature, so we got a straight line here. But in this portion, here you can see that we have a curvature. So in terms of calculating it, the distance from this vertex to this vertex to this vertex is shortened from the previous one. That's why you can see that there is a sharp edge here. I erase them. Let's just increase it. So here you can see that here's the corner that's forming, and let's enable the auto merge vertices. Let's merge them here. And in this case, you can see that the distance of these two and these two are huge. That's why it's curving out the whole thing. But when we add the supporting vertex here and here, it becomes sharper, but yet it got the curvature here. But it's not curving the whole thing because as we have added the supporting vertex. So yeah, that's the basic, and let's delete it and let's go to our cylinder. So what we need to do is we need to add supporting edge loops here, and let's add a supporting edge loop here, pressing Ctrl R. Okay. So here you can see that we got that roundness. Let's increase it, but we are also getting the edge sharpness. So let's add a supporting edge loop here also. Let's bring it up, and let's also bring it down a little bit. Okay, now let's add a supporting edge loop, or we can just use this edge loop here. Let's bring it down a little bit. Okay, we're looking pretty much fine. Let's auto smooth it. Okay, it's looking fine. Another thing we can do is we don't need this inside part, so let's just delete it. Okay, so we are pretty much done with the bottom portion. And another thing we can do is let's select the middle vertex. Now let's press O to enable proportional editing. You can check it from here when it's enabled. This is blue, means the proportional editing is enabled. So let's reduce it a bit, and let's just bring it here slightly. Okay, this should work. Okay, now let's model the upper portion. We can take the vertices from here. Let's duplicate them, press P to separate, and let's scale them up a little bit. I think we can align this more with the main model. Okay, now let's bring them down. Let's disable the proportional editing by pressing O again. Let's extrude it. Let's extrude inwards by pressing E and S. And we need to do the same thing to preserve the edges. Let's add a supporting edge loop here. Let's add another supporting edge loop here. Okay, now let's select this portion and go to the front view. I think we can extrude. I think before extruding, let's scale it up a little bit to match the reference image. Just slightly scaling it down, then press E and extrude. Again, let's do the same thing. Press E, S to extrude outwards. Let's press E and Z to extrude along the Z axis. I think this should work. Now let's press E and S to extrude inwards. And let's just do a grid fill. So for this model, we are not concerned about the vertex count. So that's why I am using that grid fill just to fill out the whole thing and maintaining the quads. So let's add a supporting edge loop here. Let's add a supporting edge loop here. Let's do the same for the upper portion. Let's add another one here. Let's add another one here. And I think this should work. Okay, let's auto smooth, and let's add some thickness to it. So add the solidify modifier. Do the same for this portion also. Let's add a solidify. We can increase the thickness a little bit just to match it. Okay, so we are pretty much done with our model, and just need some few tweaks. We need to add the inner portion here. So let's add a UV sphere. Let's scale it down, bring it up, scale it up a little bit. Let's scale along the Z axis to match it, scale it up, go to the edit mode. From extreme mode, let's select these vertices and let's delete them. And now just simply extrude. Yes, let's extrude it to here. Okay, this should work. Now let's add the details. Here you can see that we have a small opening here, and if we open the reference image here, you can see that we also have an inverted portion here. Like this portion is here to demonstrate that it's pressable and there is space inside it. So let's add this too. So to add it, let's add a edge loop here. I'm keeping it thin. Let's disable the viewport view for the solidify modifier. Let's go to the face selection mode and select it, and let's extrude downwards a little bit. Now here you can see that it's all smoothened out because the distance between this edge and this edge is huge. So we need to add a supporting edge loop here. Let's also add a supporting edge loop inside. Where is this loop? No, this should work. I think we can also bring this one down. Okay, this should work. Let's add a supporting edge loop here also. And I think what we can do is we can reduce the space from here. And we can bring this edge loop closer by pressing G twice. And we are pretty much done here. I think we can scale it up a little bit and bring it up a little bit. Yeah, so we are pretty much done with this portion. Now let's add the holes. I think before adding the hole, let's add a supporting edge loop here also. Okay, looking good. Let's save this file. There are lots of ways to make holes or to add the details. One of the easiest way is to do using Boolean modifier. But the Boolean modifier has its own drawback. Let me just show you. If I just take a cube, scale it down, bring it up a little bit, scale along the x-axis. So here we want it rounded. So if you just bevel it from here, you can see that you won't have the consistency of the roundness, because here if we check the transform properties, here you can see that the x-axis is not same to the other ones. So that's why we are not getting a proportional curvature here. So what we need to do is press Ctrl A and apply scale. Here you can see that now it's all one. And now if we bevel, now you can see a consistent curvature throughout the mesh. I think this should work. Now let's add a Boolean modifier. Boolean, and let's select this, and let's just check the face orientation. The face orientation are good. So now if we remove it, here you can see that we already got our hole, and if we want, we can dig a little deeper. Yes, but the problem with this method is if we enable the wireframe view, here you can see that we got a lot of n-gons, especially in this portion. So in terms of subdivisional modeling, we don't any type of n-gons. So we are not using this method. Let's just disable it from here. So instead of using a Boolean modifier, we can directly cut a hole in this object. So let's see how to do it. So here I just need to rotate it a little bit so that I have a face to work with. Yeah, it should work. Here we have a solid face now here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a edge loop here. So what I'm going to do is let's just bevel it, and let's keep the bevel factor 1. Okay, this should work. Let's select the middle edge and let's select the edge. Let's delete the edge. So now here you can see that we got our hole, and let's extrude inwards and let's do a grid fill. Now let's add supporting edge loop here and a supporting edge loop here. Let's increase the subdivision just to make it smoother. And here you can see that this is not smoothened out yet because we have a triangle here, and an N1 here. If I just show you, this is a N1 because it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 vertices, and this portion has 3, this portion has 3, and this is also has 3, this is also has 3. So yeah, you got the point. So yeah, now what we need to do is make sure that your merge vertices is enable, and then select it and just press G twice to merge it, and do the same for here. There's also another method to it. Let me just show you. So what you need to do is select this one first and make these vertices as your active, then press M and at last. And you can also do the opposite. You can select this one first and this one last. In this case, make sure that you select the at first. So yeah, we are pretty much done with our model. So now let's proceed to the texturing part. Okay, let's hide this for now. Let's bring this panel up and make it shader editor. Okay, now let's assign a material here. Let's go to the render view. Here you can see that HDRI is already applied because I have set that up in the startup file, but you can just add it from here. Let me just quickly show you. Go to world, and from colors, select environment texture, press open, and then locate the HDR that you want to import. So yeah, as simple as that. So now what we're going to do is, I think there's a gap here. Oh no, it's the shadow. My bad. Okay, can you do this again? Okay. Now what we need to do is let's make it red. Let's reduce the roughness, and let's apply the same material, duplicate, and in this case, let's make the transmission 1 so that it gives a see-through view, and let's reduce the roughness a little bit. Yes, it should work. I think we can play with the color a little bit. This red, I think this should work. And let's add the same material here. So to add the bottom portion, what you can do is you can just simply separate it and add a thickness to it. Let's just select them, pressing Control. Let's increase it a little bit. Select all the vertices inside. Now let's press P to separate the selection. And I think we can increase the depth here a little bit. Yes, let's bring it down. It should work. Or another thing we can do is, I think it's looking fine. Okay, now let's add this here, and if we see the material view, yeah, it's looking pretty much fine. And now let's add the label. So I'm going to use my own PBR texture map generator. If you haven't heard it before or if you haven't seen it, it's basically a simple tool to do a simple task. It can convert any of your image into PBR texture. It basically generates the maps that are required to make a PBR texture. So if you want to see a detailed video, you will find a video in the iCard, and I will also put the link in the description so that you can check it out after watching this. So for this one, I just need the normal and height. I think I don't need the height because as it's black and white, I already have the height information. I just need the normal. So now let's just select this, and it says done. Here you can see that we have our normal map, and this is the one that I've got. So yeah, now let's add it. So what we need to do here is let's duplicate it and make it complete white. Let's add a mix shader to it, and now let's add a image texture, and now let's select our label, and let's UV unwrap it. Okay, we don't need transmission here. And what we can do, let's do it from view again. Let's select all, scale it up, and just here. I think this should work. Now let's add the normal. Just open it. Let's plug it to the bump in the height. Let's add the normal here and here. I think we can reduce the strength a little bit. Okay, looking pretty much fine. So complete the roughness a little bit. If you want, you can make it metallic, but we don't need that. Okay, we are pretty much done with the texturing also. Now comes the fun part, that how to make this using geometry node. So now let's come to the viewport shading, and what we need to do is select everything and let's put it into a collection named model. Okay, let's hide it for now. Now let's shift this tab to geometry node editor, and I think we can hide it also. Okay, now take any object. I'm taking a cube. Let's add a new node. So if you're completely new to geometry node, these are basically nodes that register from input to output, and whatever you put in between, that mainly acts as an operator. So if I just show you a little glimpse, like if I add a transform geometry here, and from here you can see that I can modify the transform property. So what it's basically doing, it's taking that input and then passing it through a transform node. And if we add values here, you can see that it's basically modifying the rotation along the y-axis. This is for the x-axis, and this is for the position, and this is for the scale. And if you already know, you know. Okay, so let's delete it, and we don't need it here. Let's add collection info. Okay, so we are using collection info because few seconds back what we did is we put that model into a collection. So simple as that, just select that collection model and then pass it through, and here you can see that we have our model. And this is not editable because the base mesh is still a cube. If we go to the edit mode, you can see that we have a cube, but as we are using geometry node, it's basically showing us the collection that we have inserted here. Okay, so now what we need to do is let's add a curve line. VA curve line. Okay, so let's input it here. Here you can see that we have our curve line here, And if we again press tab to go to the edit mode, you can see you can't modify the curve from here because you need to modify it from here. So this is the start point, which is at 0 0. Here you can see that the start point is at 0 0, and then it's the endpoint is 1 meter along the z-axis. So here you can see here's the endpoint. So what we need to do is we can increase it, or maybe what I can do is let's go with the x-axis. So here you can see that the start point is here, the end point is here, and this is basically the control. So now let's add a point on instance. So here if we plug that in into the middle portion, here you can see that the curve is gone. Why? Because we don't have any instances yet. Just to show how instances work, let me add a cylinder. And now if I plug that in into the instance, here you can see that we have two cylinder because the curve line had 2 points. The point one is at 0, and this is our second point. But we don't only want two objects, right? We want to make this. So what we need to do is we need to add more points in between. So to do that, just simply add a resample curve. Let's add it in between. Here you can see that now we have 10 points because here if we increase the distance, here you can see that the points are equally distributed. This each and every cylinder is a point. Let me delete it also. Let me just add a point just to show you the points. Instance here, yes. Let's increase the radius. Here you can see that we have points. We have 10 points. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yes, we have 10 points because here is the value is 10. So now you have the control to bring them closer, and you can also add points in between. If you look closely, you can see that the points are being created from the middle portion. Here, yes. And if we make it 1, there is only 1 point. So yeah, that's the basic. So by seeing this, I think you already understood that what point does. Whatever you plug inside the instance, it basically takes the place of the points. So if we delete the points and plug our collection that we have inserted, now you can see that we have our models here and we can control them using these parameters. Now, if you have used Blender before, if you try to make this using arrays and you want to keep this consistency or you want to reform it however you want, it wouldn't be this much easy. So that's where geometry nodes come handy. So here you can see that you can also customize the rotation. But if we just directly customize the rotation, what happens is it rotates all the objects, but we don't want it. We don't want to rotate all the objects in the same sequence, but we want to customize the rotation according to this. So yes, now what we need to do is we will add a position. Let's plug it in into the rotation, and here you can see that all the objects are rotating depending on their position. So what it basically is doing is it's taking the position information of each instances and then customizing their rotation. But here there is a problem. Here you can see that yes, if we increase the number, it's affecting the rotation, it's coming closer, it's going further, and there is not much control over it. We can't control the distance or how we want to see it. So here what we need to do is we need a vector math. So let's add a vector math here. And if we add it, so what happens when you add some numbers? The number is already there, and when you add to something, it's just adds on to that number. So it's not helping that much. So now what we're going to do is instead of adding, we're going to set it to multiply. So now you can see that it all got straightened out. Now we want to adjust the x rotation because we want to rotate it along the x-axis. Now what's happening is the position value of each instances is getting multiplied by 0.3 along the x-axis. So now we have this kind of rotation, and we can adjust it by changing this value. Let's keep it 0.3. Okay, so now what we need to do is let's add a camera. Let's go to the front view, press Control Alt number pad 0 to snap the camera to view. Now let's adjust it a bit. Let's adjust the focal length, and from here we can just directly rotate it. But if you want to make it procedural, you can add a transform geometry node here, and from here you can I think y-axis should do. Let's do -45. Let's bring them closer and down a little bit. Okay, so now you can see that the models are facing downwards. So what we can do is let's rotate it from here. Let's bring them down a little bit. Let's zoom it in. Let's adjust this value a little bit, 0.35. Okay, I think this should work. Okay, I think we can increase the value from here a little bit, and let's make it 0.38. That's okay. So we got our base initial shape here. And also let me show you a quick trick. If we add a transform geometry here, then you can just simply animate this whole thing. That's the true power of geometry. The possibilities are endless. So yes, I'm planning to make a dedicated video on how to do product animation using geometry node. If you want to check that out, do subscribe and just let me know in the comment if you want that. And if I have already uploaded it, you can find it on the iCard. So yeah, there's that. And now what we can do is to do the render, let's add a plane behind. Let's scale it up. Let's see from the top here. Let's bring it back. Let's scale it up. Yes, let's apply the same material here as the bottle, the red one. Now we need some custom lighting. Let's add an area lamp here, scale it up, RX 100. Let's bring it up, bring it closer to the plane, and let's increase the brightness. I think I have I have passed the plane here, but anyways, let's bring it here, make it small. I think we need to increase the roughness here. Let's make a duplicate and increase the roughness. Yes. Now let's add some more area lights here. If you want to see a more specially detailed video regarding lighting, I have already made one in my channel where I will show you how to make a luxury perfume bottle with some premium lighting, so you can check that out. And the link will be in the description. So here, let's duplicate this, bring it here, scale it up, and let's add node to this slide. So I'm using this. Working with geometry node, one of the most efficient ways you can customize your model whenever you want. So you just customize this and the whole thing will be customized automatically. So let's just increase the roughness here a little bit. I think, yeah, this should do. Okay, and we are pretty much done. You can add a logo here. You can add any logo here, like as I just showed you. If we add any object, like let's just add a cube here and just bring it into that collection. This is the true power of geometry node, that you can customize anything and everything whenever you want. Here you can see that I'm just adding a cube and the cube is added to every model. So you can easily just add a logo here or add whatever you want. And we can invert this lighting bit to give that edge light, but let's reduce it. Right, we don't need that much of edge light. Whoa, shit. Let's keep it 500. Still too bright. So yeah, we are pretty much done. You can just do a quick render and do a quick post processing to get the look that you want. So yeah, that's all for now. Thank you so much for staying till the end. If you have any kind of confusion, just comment below and feel free to give a like, because it really helps in the YouTube algorithm. And also, if you want to have a more personalized interaction, you can join the Discord server. All the tools and the reference images that are mentioned in the video, you can find them in the description section. And lastly, if you want to see how to make a luxury perfume bottle with some lighting and modeling tips and tricks, you can check out this video. And if you're into AI and want to convert your images into 3D model, you can check out here. And if you want to know more about the PBR Texture Generator, you can click here. And I'll see you there. Ta-da!